Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Flashback Friday Instant Deck Tech. So as I'm sure you know, today is release day for Eldritch Moon, and one of the tribes that people are most excited about playing in our new standard format is Spirits. So I thought maybe the thing to do would be to go back in time to February 2012 at Pro Tour Dark Ascension in the middle of the original Innistrad block and see what the original standard spirit deck, what the original Innistrad Standard Spirits deck looked like. So this is a deck that took the master, Jon Finkle, to a top 8 finish at Pro Tour Dark Ascension, finished 3rd place, and the deck is pretty sweet. So a quick reminder before we break it down, if you enjoy this deck and want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment. If this deck wins, I think what we would do would be to play it in Modern, where it's legal, and probably make a few changes since we have the bigger card pool, but keep the same basic spirit of the deck, and just play it in Modern. Anyway, let's talk about Esper Spirits. Now, to understand this deck, you got to understand that this was a standard that featured not only most of Innistrad block, but it also featured Scars of Mirrodin block, which means lots of artifacts, and it also featured some of the M core sets containing Titans. So that's kind of the context of this deck. So the key idea of this deck is to get a Drogskell Captain on the battlefield. Actually, to get 2 Drogskell Captains on the battlefield. Drogskell Captain, 3 mana 2/2 flyer, gives other spirits you control +1/+1 in hexproof. If you get 2 on the battlefield, they of course give each other +1/+1 in hexproof. So if you get both on the battlefield, you essentially blank all of your opponent's targeted removal, and they have to have an actual wrath to get out from under this lock, or they can just never kill any of your spirits. The plan of getting 2 on the battlefield is aided by Phantasmal Image, which is an incredibly powerful clone because it's only 2 mana. The problem is, it also has the illusion trigger, where if it's targeted by anything, you gotta sacrifice it. Well, if you're copying a Drogskell Captain, there's already one on the battlefield for you to copy, obviously, so Phantasmal Image would be the second Drogskell Captain, which means it's going to give itself hexproof, or get hexproof from the other Drogskell Captain, which means you can't target it, so the illusion trigger is just not relevant to the deck, because yeah, you would have to sack it if your opponent targeted it with anything, but they can't target it with anything because it has hex. So that's kind of the main lock. You get these locked in, and not only are they protecting each other, they're giving all your other spirits +2/+2, and that's a pretty fast evasive clock, considering the best spirit card in the format was Lingering Souls. So you get 2 1/1 flyers that are spirits for 3 mana, and then you get 2 more for only 2 mana, so all in all you're getting 4 1/1 flyers for only 5 mana, and since you have Drogskell Captains, if they're giving them +1/+1 or +2/+2, that's going to close out the game super fast, because your spirits tokens are going to be 2/2s or 3/3s or even more than that. Dungeon Geist was one of the better spirits in the format as well. A little expensive. When it enters the battlefield, it taps down a creature an opponent controls, and it doesn't untap as long as you have Dungeon Geist. Obviously benefits from having hexproof, because it's going to be a lot harder to kill. But you got to think, this is a format where one of the best decks was a Titan deck, playing Primeval Titans and Inferno Titans, built around Kessig Wolfrun. And Dungeon Geist is a great way to keep huge threats like Titans under control for only 4 mana, plus it leaves behind a big body. And then Moorland Hunt lets you recycle creatures that die into 1/1 spirits for a pretty cheap price, only a white and a blue mana. The deck also has a couple other creatures. The deck is playing a lot of spells. We already mentioned Lingering Souls, but there's a lot of other spells as well. Delver of Secrets and Snapcaster Mage help take advantage of that fact, even though they're not spirits. As far as the spells, you got Gitaxian Probe and Ponder as just low opportunity cost cantrips, flips your Delver, works well with Snapcaster to generate card advantage. Then you have, for removal, Vapor Snake and Gutshot. That probably makes sense. Gutshot kills a Delver of Secrets, a pretty important card. It kills an Inkmoth Nexus, one of the key finishers of the Wolf Run deck that was really popular. Divine Offering and Revoke Existence help against all the artifacts in the format, from Scars of Mirrodin block. Also kill those Ink Moths. As far as counter spells, just a couple of mana leaks. In the mana base, we have a bunch of the fast lands from Scars of Mirrodin. And then, much like our current standard, the good old Evolving Wild and Basic Land package to make a 3-color deck work. In the sideboard, we get more Dungeon Geist for the Titan matchups, another Phantasmal Image. Then we have a package of counter spells, Dissipate, Negate, and Mana Leak. Some more artifact and enchantment removal. Some more actual removal. More gut shots, again, to kill Inkmoth Nexuses, Delver of Secrets, Dismember, and Celestial Purge to get a red or black permanent. And then some surgical extractions to hate on the graveyard. And that is Esper Spirits from the original Innistrad block at Pro Tour Dark Ascension in the hands of Jon Finkle. Anyway, that's been our Flashback Friday Instant Deck Tech. I hope you enjoyed this look back at Esper Spirits from Pro Tour Dark Ascension. Thank you very much for watching. I will talk to you soon.